It's your life, so stop whining and start winning. It's time to live a life of adventure instead of a life of maintenance. Here to give you a much-needed spanking.
I want to take it to the next level.
Ooh, I knew you'd like that. Marshall Silver.
Way too much fun. That's what we're having here. Plus, giving away cash. Hey, if you haven't heard yet, we got a great new contest going on. It's called the Leaderboard. Every single week, I'm putting $1,500 additional dollars up for grabs. And you, dear loyal listener, could win every single week. Chris Harris was our first $1,500 winner last week. He won $500 for referring the most people to the radio show. That's free membership. So the people he referred didn't pay a dime. And I think that he did about 50. He also won $1,000 last week for referring the most $1 memberships. Now, we're changing it up slightly. We'll change up the artwork. We're changing it up slightly that you must refer at least 10 people to qualify for that $1,000 cash giveaway. How cool is that, though? Every week, refer 10 people for $1 membership. You could win $1,500 every single week. That is $75,000 a year. Are you kidding me? You show me any place else you could have this much fun making that much money. And sign me up. I want to be a part of it. 855-674-3874. Phone lines are open. And if you're brand new to the radio show, I chat with you about anything that ails you, anything you're working on. I'm a self-made multimillionaire. I've made millions and millions of dollars in multiple fields. I am a product of the product. I know what it's like to struggle. I know what it's like to have life not turn out the way that you want it to turn out, and then work hard and make it change, and I can help you make a change. And then finally, I also am very certain I have the answers for you, whatever you're working on. If your relationships are struggling, I can help. If you're financially in the crapper, I can get you out of the crapper. If you are not happy, I promise you, I've got happiness on a silver platter right here. It's got your name on it. All you've got to do is call 855-Mr. Get Rich. 855-674-3874. Lisa from Albuquerque,
Hello?
You're live on the air. Welcome home.
Thank you. Good to be here.
How can I serve
I was
you?
at your turn. Huh?
I said, how may I serve you?
Well, I was at Turning Point this past weekend, and during the hypnosis, I believe the first round of hypnosis, when I was tapped on the shoulder, I started crying. And I was wondering what the significance you think that is and what I can do about it to heal myself.
There's nothing about you that needs to be healed. There's nothing about you that's broken. I don't know why you started crying. And there's only one person that does, and that would be you. I can tell you that hypnosis in and of itself, the reason that I've been such a stalwart supporter of hypnosis and been such a champion of it is I believe ultimately, Lisa, everything is hypnosis. And that the metaphor that hypnosis teaches us, the first metaphor is surrender. There are some things that we can control. There are some things that we cannot. And we must surrender to the things that we cannot control. There's nothing else to do. That doesn't mean we give up. It doesn't mean that we stop working on that thing that we cannot change in the moment. It just means that we also have to surrender and realize it is what it is for now. And I think that's the hardest lesson for most people is to be able to just breathe, to surrender. You know, yesterday we had a young lady on the show that had called in that was overcoming a broken relationship. She and her ex-fiance had broken it off, and I could tell there was a little bit of pain in her voice still. And I told her that Hugh Hefner has it right. If you get left at the altar on Saturday morning, then on Saturday afternoon, you're single. Get over it. Move on. There's no point in sitting in the grief. And if people make a ton of money and then lose it all, which a lot of people have done over the last couple of years, the challenge is you still have to move on. And living in the loss won't change anything. Learning the lesson quickly, moving on does. And so a lot of times I see that people that we have at the seminar that get extremely emotional when we're doing the trance session, and usually in tears, usually in crying, it's because they'd had a fair amount of stress recently, if not a significant amount of stress, and that it just felt so good to relax, to, stop driving the car, so to speak, and let somebody else drive it, that it's extremely relief filled for them. So, have you been dealing with some pretty major things in your life lately?
Well, my first response would be to guess that it's grieving some deaths for some, 12 years old, and then some more recent. And I don't know if it was trying to move on from them too fast, and I maybe never grieved properly, or and I think also partially a sadness for grieving kind of how I've allowed my potential to, and all my talents to kind of languish during all that time when I was grieving.
Sure. It sounds like obviously you're grieving still, and
Yeah.
it sounds to me like you're crying, correct?
Yes.
There's nothing wrong with crying. Crying is a release of tension, just like laughter is, just like orgasm is. And the challenge for most people is if they get stuck in just crying, then what happens is they don't enjoy the other benefits that life has to give. I have a niece, as you've heard me talk about. She died of a heroin overdose at 21 years old, about 11 or 12 years ago now. And I loved my niece very much. She was an amazing, beautiful, wonderful human being. And it's a real sad thing that she got involved in drugs because it killed her. The thing that I know, though, is that while I can continue to grieve her death, I know that that doesn't honor her life. And that if anybody else's death causes me to cease to live, then I give less meaning to their life in general. Because I loved my niece, because her life mattered, I'm going to make her death be a thing that inspires me to live a better life rather than take away from my life. So while I know you need comfort, and I know that you reached out to me both in this phone call and are attracted to my teachings and my seminars because you want your life back, I want you to know, Lisa, right now, I'm giving you permission to get your life back. I'm giving you permission to reclaim it now. While your skills and talents may have languished, in your words, that doesn't mean that they need to continue languishing. And what I'm telling you right now, there's nothing about you that's broken. There's no proper way or improper way to grieve. How you grieve is exactly the way you're supposed to grieve. What I am here to tell you is that it's time to stop grieving and start living, and that life is for the living. And any moment that you do not live your life fully, you are insulting the memory of the people that you have grieved for, and I know that's not your intention. And yet it's time for you to honor their lives and honor them by getting back to living your life fully, by getting back to being the person you know you were destined to be, a unique, one-of-a-kind, wonderful human being worthy of all the great things this life has to offer. Wouldn't you agree that it's time for you to start living again?
Yes.
Good. Well, you have permission, and you're not dishonoring anybody that you have shared time with by allowing their death to be something great, by finding the reason that they not only lived, also the reason that they died. And it's time for you right now to realize that, somewhere along the path, someone's got to break the chains of bondage, of truly psychic and emotional bondage, and even spiritual bondage that's been holding you back. And it's time for that time to be right now.
Thank you.
You are totally loved, and I look forward to chatting with you again on this radio show. One of the things this radio show does, Lisa, is every single day I can speak into people's lives. I can remind them of who they are and what they deserve and what they're supposed to be getting. And I promise you that you are unique. You are a king's kid, and that this planet is better because you exist, and it's time for you to start sharing all of your gifts and your essence and your presence with the planet. Take care, friend.
Thanks.
You bet. Do you love people? I love people very much. And again, my prayer is that this radio program would be a show that makes you feel good, that makes you say, you know what? And maybe unlike Lisa, like grieving at that level, maybe there's something else going on in your life, though, that has been getting in the way. Maybe it's an Achilles heel. And you keep telling yourself, gee, if only this were different, then my life would be amazing. Well, I've got to tell you, like I just told Lisa, there's nothing about you that's broken. There's nothing about you that can be fixed because there's nothing broken. The only challenge is you may not be living your life fully. Now, I have overcome drug addiction. I stopped smoking cigars, which I enjoyed, or at least I thought I did then, very much. I stopped gambling, even though I had a ton of fun and was a card counter, so I won more than I lost. I just stopped because it was a waste of my life. With the birth of my son, Sterling Marshall Silver, I now am upgrading even to a higher level. Let me help you upgrade to a higher level. Let me speak into your life. If you're working on something, you need some help, call me now in the last 15 minutes of the show before we wrap up. Plus, I've got $1,000 cash I'm going to give away. So how awesome is today? As long as you're a registered Get Rich Radio listener, your membership is current, and you have not yet won $1,000, you qualify to win $1,000 cash right now. More in a moment after this.